So here's the Art of the Rhythm section class of 2017. Here we are.
It's day one of Billy Cobham's Art of the Rhythm section retreat, July 17th, 2017, Season 2. The night before, we had a very cozy, informal reception. Today, the retreat participants file into, for many, what will be the deepest path they have tread along their musical journey so far. A few even returned from the previous year to gain, yet again, more of the secret sauce, the magic pixie dust, the knowledge and wisdom of Billy Cobham and the other coaches and assistant coaches in a hands-on, immersive experience. Everyone said they were leaving a much better musician than when they had arrived. Transformational, a life-changing experience, are just a couple examples of exit comments. This is Billy Cobham's Art of the Rhythm section retreat. Every morning the attendees are greeted by Dom Camilleri, but the first morning is always special in its own way. Dom is known and loved throughout the drumming community. He is known as the Global Drumming Ambassador. He is highly respected by other types of musicians as well.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How do you feel? You ready for a week long of insanity? Yeah. Thank you so much. Again, I ask you, there is no shy. Do not be shy about everything. Shy slows down the learning process. If you walk out of here in the course of a day or a week and you feel you didn't answer a question because you were shy or a little nervous, don't go there. Ask the question. There are absolutely no bad questions. We might give you a few bad answers. That's a different story. The bottom line is we're here for you to enjoy and grow. And now just to hear a couple of tunes to play and for you to step into the world of Billy Cobham. Would you please welcome Mr. Billy Cobham and the Spectrum 40 Band.
After the warm welcome, Billy Cobham and the Spectrum 40 Band launch right into two songs. It's like they are an arm's length from the retreat attendees. Think of what it's like. Any of your biggest musical influences, your idols, musicians whose music you've listened to for years, the music that you've practically hurt yourself trying to emulate, and they're right there. The band plays two songs right from the start of the retreat for a few reasons. One is to really welcome the attendees with what they came here for, a completely immersive musical learning experience. Many of them came from very far away, other states, and even other countries. Imagine the anticipation. It doesn't make sense to start such an experience for them with an anticlimactic academic textbook dissertation. Instead, they are musically introduced to the mantras of the retreat. Communication, language of music. Musicianship, synergy. Expression, individual and collective message.
Welcome to the action-packed version of whatever we do. First tune, Dean Brown, called Clouded Groove. The reason why I wanted to do that is because I hadn't done it. When did we make that record? 91? Hadn't played it. Haven't played it since 2000? Not really, not much. If at all. But, first point, you do something you like, you never forget it, right? You like to ride a bicycle, you fall off, you get back on. Ride a horse, fall off, you get back on. I've played this tune 17 years. Today is the first time, approximately. Give me once or twice, just by chance. And it all fits. All music fundamentally can be this way if you allow it to be. Easy for me to say. But I like to try to play things that, selfishly for me, are easy to do, that are fun to do. It's easy if it's fun, you know. And again, go all the way back to why am I doing this? Being a musician, it's something I love to do. Otherwise, it would never be easy. I mean, I've met people, and I still don't get it, how they do it, who play because it's a job. And they really mean it. It's a job. I mean, they decided to study in school how to play music and for a job. And this is what they do from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock, and they're really good at doing that, and that's exactly how they sound. Because music never lies, you know, and it tends to bring out the good and the bad in everybody. It's a sonic reflection of our history, who we are, where we've been, where we want to go. And if we cut ourselves off from the emotional side, we can never be emotionally attached or present our real selves through the music, only what the book says. And that's exactly where I don't want to be. So in playing a piece like Clouded Groove, I wanted to point this out to you through how simply it is constructed, how easy it is to play, but that's the difficult part. Because if you don't really feel the elements around you that support your position, your rhythm section, or anybody on the bandstand is playing, doesn't have to be just the rhythm section. The band, which can be someone soloing, those notes have to mean something so that you can egg them on and they can give you more feedback for what you provided them as you support them. In return, they support you, sometimes even in silence, because silence can be a very, very effective tool. Knowing when not to play is at least as important as knowing when to play. You know, so if you're in the moment as a musician, as an artist, you're going to use silence versus acrimony, the yin and yang of it all, to make it happen, okay? And in a piece like this, it always reminds me that music is, again, also based on the human spirit. What we do, how we feel, how we move. And clave is a very, very special rhythm that represents a few 100 million people around the southern hemisphere who tend to walk that way and feel that way. And if you have that to hold on to, and again, this is part of the rhythm section process, knowing how to play, who you are and where you've been, your history, you're going to lock into that vision, that image in your mind, and you're going to expand on it. From there, the world's your stage. You can do whatever you want. The next piece we played, I think many of you may know, is Stratus. Our version of Stratus. It's what we do. We've been playing it now for quite a while the same way. I made this arrangement maybe about 1989. So, but the fundamentals of it all is still fundamentally the same. And without the consistency of that instrument right there in combination to, the bass player is turning around, but the bass doesn't play itself. You can play ukulele anymore. That's what that's all about. Not how to make it feel good. Everyone has a role in this band, and is a specialist in what they do.
Next, each attendee introduced themselves with where they are from, what their primary instrument is, how long they've been playing it, and what they would like to get out of this experience. This was a great way for them to get to know the fellow musicians they will be on this journey with. There were players, both male and female, of all ages and from a few different countries, a true microcosm of the music world. And then it was time to move on.
We got that out of the way now. Now we know who's here and what the process is. I ask you one thing. I want you to embrace frustration. Whatever frustration you may have in this industry of styles or reading, whatever it is, embrace that. Utilize that as something that will propel you to want to learn about it. So ask questions about what you're weak at. Bring that up and let's attack that, because if we strengthen what you are weak at, the entire prospect of your artistic expression gets better. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Next was a demonstration of what the retreat is all about and what the attendees will be doing with each other, with the coaches and assistant coaches. This lineup playing Mercy, Mercy, Mercy by Joe Zawinul here had never played together before. Assistant coaches Scott Tibbs on keyboards, Ted Sistrunk on bass, and Mike Ozuna on guitar joined in. The whole idea is to become such a good rhythm section player that no matter what the situation, you can get up on stage and play with anyone. Not a bad quality for a studio session player either, right? It's also critical if you were called upon to sub for a gig, or gigs, or a tour. them just soaking it in. And as a reminder, this is just the first day, and the participants are already being transported to a place where they are developing a new perspective of what it means to play with other musicians. And I have to chime in here with my own personal experience. I've been a part of the first two Art of the Rhythm section retreats, and as a drummer of 47 years as of now, the time this is being filmed in 2017, I learned more from each of these experiences than all my combined exposure to music. Seriously. Here's some feedback about the experience.
We're all for each other. We want everyone to succeed. And so you should feel encouraged and supported by the community of your peers, which is one of the important things to know about this rhythm section retreat. Speak more small-minded. I say, when we were playing, did you guys notice how every time there was a different soloist, we kind of changed the feel a little? We're still playing the same tune, still playing the same vamp, the same two chords, but we tried to give each guy a little different thing. So it wasn't just a drone, but it was our individual expression for that person. As a rhythm section player, you got to reach out to whoever you're supporting and be with them. I think that's one of the most important things about that sort of thing.
All musicians, everybody, we're all like snowflakes and crystals, and just a little bit different. So the application, if it's done in the right way, which starts with the simplicity factor. Always just do all you need to do to begin to build the foundations for whatever that solo is going to be. Never try to hit the ground running at top speed, the highest level of volume, whatever that might be. The ultimate point, you need to always just pay respect to the person whom you're going to support, and they will in turn pay respect to you by acknowledging what you've done, to give them a chance to establish their presentation. And this is what it's all about with the rhythm section. You keep those things in mind, no matter whether you read music or not. It's not about the notes on the paper. You know, the real 3 dimension is what you feel up here and present from out here. Okay? I want to bring up an assistant of mine. I can call him all kinds of things. His name is Santiago Roberts. And he hasn't played yet. You might want to play on one of those. Play where you're comfortable. And this is what we're going to do with all of you guys at some point. What I'd like us to do now is just play a blues shuffle or something like this, something that you feel most comfortable with, Santiago, because he's my backup on this project. And
Next, we got an earful from Dean Brown. No, actually, we got an ear training lesson from Dean Brown. Here's Dean on the importance of ear training for all musicians.
Even though ear training might seem like one of those sort of academic, tedious things, it's not about how good you are at ear training. That's not what's important. It's not how good your ears are. It has nothing to do with that. All it has to do with is if you try to hear stuff, then when you get ready to sit on your instrument, you know, now your ears are open to be able to accept this language that we call music. So that's my pitch to you. That's my pitch, is to say, I want you to embrace it. I tell my students all the time, I said, listen, if you've only got an hour to practice a day, you already know how to play guitar or drums. You've been playing drums for a long time, you know. You already know how to do that, you know. So you want to improve your ability to communicate with that. So the idea is, if you got an hour to practice, cut it in half, spend a half an hour doing ear training and a half an hour practicing some relevant thing that you need to work on. And we'll talk more about, as this thing goes, we'll talk more about practice and practice techniques and the psychology of music and all that kind of stuff.
So it's about now what you guys feel about what's been happening. You've been talking to me off mic, little by little, what you experienced just so far. We're going to go through this every day to see where we stand, what you feel that stands out for you, because this is all about mostly doing, not talking. Because when we talk, it's about what we want to do. When we do, we've done. So it's about what you've seen that has been happening, how it's affected you, and where you want to go from there. Or how, because I want this stuff to stay in your minds. We have 5 days, maybe a little bit more of highly immersive stuff. Lots of information going and coming. Just take a microphone and just share with us all.
How impressed that I am with dynamics. And to me it's very beautiful. Some of the most amazing players I've ever had the pleasure of listening to or watching have been in such beautiful, I don't even want to use the word control, but it's a certain kind of control. But to be able to be that sensitive in music with dynamics is really beautiful. And something, and I know you're a powerhouse, Billy, so to listen to you with such light touch and still have that groove just impresses me.
Thank you.
And it's something that I'm still challenged with.
Well, you know, if you're going to play together, someone has to speak louder than everybody else at some point. But things that you touched upon in terms of power. Power doesn't necessarily mean lots of power. Power, it can be supportive, but in a way that gives the impression that it's very strong. So in a ballad, or forget a ballad, playing softly can be very, very enriching and very, very effective if everybody's on the same page and you're playing that way. It can be more intense than the loudest band you ever want to hear on this earth. That's why, to me, when you play and you don't touch any instrument and everybody imagines what you do, that can be more impressive than anything that you would play if you were even to break the drum or break an instrument. You play the loudest you can.
As the days of the Art of the Rhythm section retreat went on, the attendees got to interact more and more with each other as well as with the coaches. Let's look at some of the clips that reflect this experience. While vocals were not part of the retreat lesson, because Chris on drums wanted to play 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Kelly Ray Tubbs, a wonderful drummer and drumming historian, volunteered to jump up on vocals and sung this for the first time.
See, now, what happened there is I always follow the bass.
What I do?
Well, you switched with Billy.
All they did was play a little bit faster.
Yeah. And so I always follow the bass because there's a weird thing about bass is that no matter, this is the weirdest thing, man. No matter what a bass player plays, because it's the fundamental, it's right. It sounds right.
I
So,
concur.
the problem is the whole band knows it's wrong, but they got to go with it.
Here's bassist Rick Fiorabrace on what it really means to be an attentive rhythm section member.
When you get the demo, you shouldn't be copying the demo. You should be going like, man, what can I do to make this sound the best it possibly can? And it's the same, it all comes full circle. When they're soloing, when you're comping, I noticed this yesterday, people are comping and I can see they're getting bored after a chorus or two and then they turn up and they just do their own thing. It's like, what are you doing to make him sound the best he can? That's your role when someone's taking a solo. Or if someone's singing. She's singing out of tune. What am I going to do to make sure she doesn't sing out of tune? Right? The trumpet player is not, his time is a little weird. What can I do to make that better? That's the challenge all the time.
Great point. That's a great point. You know, there was a.
Oh man, the singers. Man, I'm making it super clear. I'm changing my sound. Maybe she doesn't hear the sound. Maybe it's too bassy. Yeah, maybe I'll go to the back pickup. Maybe I'll play a chord like a root in the third, just so she hears the key a little better. Man, you gotta do whatever you figure it out. There's a million different ways. Or
50.
Or you know what you can do? Like you can just walk over and kind of look at her, and then she's a little more confident. She goes, "Oh wait, he's paying attention to me. I'm going to sing a little better." Like that guitar player, Mike. When he was stalling, a lot of times he would walk over to the drummer, and Dean does that too. It's like, "Hey man, I want to play with you." It wasn't like, "Oh, I'm taking my solo." He came over to make music with whoever was playing drums. And that was really, that's great that you do that. And that's the same thing. It's like if something's not working, like what can you do? You figure out the Rubik's Cube. What can we do here to make it better? Because the whole point is you're trying to make the music better. Not I'm the star here and I'm going to do something that's never been done before. That's stupid.
So playing music doesn't always work. It's not always magical, and no one's mad at anybody. It's all about teaching the discipline, correcting on the spot, not letting the bad habits to continue, or the unformed habits. It's all about learning to be an artful, yet responsible rhythm section player as a team member. It's all about the rhythm.
Learn the form. Yeah. Okay? And be in agreement with one. Forget about all the fills. I know this is difficult to do. Okay? And you'll probably not do it anyway. But the main thing is this. Just try to stay with Jerry, Dean, and Rick in terms of the form playing the music properly. Okay?
Oh, don't worry. 13-year-old Malachi Samity gets it, and you'll see that in a bit. Each evening, the participants had a chance to just jam with each other, as well as some of the coaches. No curriculum, no agenda, no lessons. Just unwinding, jamming fun. It was interesting to see them apply what they learned during the days to these jams at night each evening. And every musician demonstrated that they were being transformed into a better player from their experience at the Billy Cobham's Art of the Rhythm Section retreat. granular, the midweek day was scheduled for the coaches' breakout sessions. First, the attendees spent 3 hours with me in one of my social media on steroids workshops, which is to teach them how to market themselves as musicians. Many who have spent so much time and so much money to become better musicians never tend to this. After lunch, the attendees were put into groups and then rotated through the different coaches' breakout rooms. This is so that each musician, no matter what their primary instrument is, can learn from the coaches and assistant coaches based on their perspective and approach to their primary instrument and how that relates to working with their counterparts in a rhythm section environment. Let's take a peek at some of these sessions, beginning with the words of wisdom of Billy Cobham.
What do? Will I eat? Is there a roof over my head? And it all affects what we do through that instrument or whatever instrument we play. That's exactly who we play. And we play who we are. That instrument only reflects who we are. We're speaking through the instrument. We're not saying words. No matter what somebody says to us, how you feeling? Go, yeah, I'm okay. Now play. You may not play as you are okay, but only you know it to some degree, depending on how severe or what direction, positive or negative, you are. Could be really okay, or you could be really down. And that's again it's not just the beauty of music. Maybe it's the ugly part, because music will tell everybody in one way, shape, or form who you really are. You can't hide behind music. Music will speak for you. If you're playing and you're not into it, it'll feel like you're not into it. And the body language of those who are listening, if there's anybody at all, will go, why am I standing here? I don't need to hear this. I got enough trouble, and walk off the other way. On the other hand, it might be so powerful. If you take somebody like Bill Evans or so, who this recording called Conversations with Myself. This guy he had the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Hey everybody, it's Dan Schinder on Drum Talk TV. Follow me to another one of the breakout rooms here at Billy Cobham's Art of the Rhythm Section Retreat. Dom Famularo is coaching this group.
Well, if I'm as a bass player, I have no clue what the chord changes are.
Exactly right, right?
How shall that work?
So the first thing is this uncomfortability with the tune, and the second thing you did wrong, you didn't discuss the form. You just started playing. Without knowing, so if you're not sure of the tune and you don't know the form, that's what we call the kiss of death. That's you're guaranteed to fail. So there's got to be, a band is this team of, we're going to play a tune, and you're playing a tune that was written by Dizzy Gillespie. You're playing a tune that has incredible history in the jazz, repertoire of great songs. So what you have here is you got to discuss, if you're not sure of the song and you haven't got enough handle on it, as they always say, first time around, get to know it. Second time around, own it. You, as the leader on guitar, you choose the key.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
G?
Yeah, sure.
G blues, okay? So it's a 12-bar blues. So we're gonna play the head. Then you'll play the first solo, second solo, third solo, head and out. We got the form, we got the tune. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right, okay. Excellent.
But wait, there's more. During the retreat, Billy also did a Roland Masterclass. Not just for drummers, this was for all musicians in attendance. This is to open their minds to the possibilities when it comes to composition and production using the vast array of sounds available from the Roland TDK series. And Billy was using their RT30H triggers on his acoustic kit, using the TD50 drum sound module, and also demonstrated the TD50KV V-Drums kit. Scott Tibbs accompanied on keyboards. Let's check it out. As everyone's skills developed further during the remainder of the retreat, they played with much more confidence and purpose. Here we see players putting what they learned into action with their playing. last day, I got to sit with a few of the participants and get their thoughts.
And with me, I have from the top row, I've got Mark, Stefan, John Paul, and in the front we've got Michael, James, and Tiger. And we've got some different perspectives here because Michael came for a day on a session pass, so he's got one perspective. James is Tiger's father, who also came on a session pass for 2 days, but being one of our full-time participants' fathers, there's an interesting perspective there. And then, of course, John Paul, Stefan, and Mark were also full-time participants. So we just kind of want to get a recap of what the experience was like and what you got out of it now that you've had at least one night to sleep on it and let it soak in. So I'll start with who dipped their toe in to the lake the least, which would be Michael. You were here for a full day and saw it from one direction. What did you think and what instrument do you play and what did you get out of it? And I'll hold it here.
Well, I'm a drummer, and so I came specifically to see Mr. Cobham, but I've listened to his music since I was a little kid. So it was just, I'm grinning ear to ear just to be there for a day, and to play for him a little bit, and have a little bit of analysis and interplay with musicians like Dean Brown, and it's just astonishing. So I had a wonderful time.
That's great. That's great. And have you been to many in your life? Have you been to many drum clinics or boot camps or whatever they're calling these things these days?
Many drum clinics, several with Mr. Cobham. So,
was there anything that stood out the most that made this different, other than the obvious that this is not just for drummers, it's for guitar players, bass players, keyboard players, and drummers? But what about the experience might have stood out as a benefit?
The most wonderful thing for me that I have not seen in any other clinic setting is that we were invited in to play in an actual session with these musicians in a song. We were invited to lead them through, to choose who would solo, when we would go to the bridge, when we would end the song. So that interactive experience was just, you can't find that anywhere else.
That's great. That's great. Now we'll go to the blood brother of drummers, and that would be Stefan as a bass player. I think you came the farthest, all the way from Austria. I thought I came the farthest. I live 100 miles in the mountains from here in Globe. But no, you came a little farther, all the way from Austria. What did you think? What's your one night sleeping on it take?
It was an amazing experience, definitely. It was great to meet so many different drummers, the brothers of the group, kind of. It was interesting to adapt to many different drummers, especially in the last 2 days. When we had the breakout sessions, me as only one of few bass players, I got the chance to play about 3 or 4 hours the last 2 days every day. Really digging the songs and playing different feels on them was really a valuable experience, definitely.
That's great. And was most or all of the music stuff that you had never played before, the stuff you played that were structured songs?
The stuff I usually play would be much simpler, harmonically wise. It was still fine because it was mostly prepared very well, so that you could warm up with the song, and then the second or third time it was getting easier, definitely. But there were some frightening moments in the beginning.
That's when I got here. Did you feel it was a stretch for you, that experience?
Definitely. I was expecting it, or I took the challenge that I would have to go out of my comfort zone. I was challenged a lot in that respect.
Yeah, it's important to embrace that, though. I think it's one thing to be aware of it, and if you could go back and forth, that would be great. I think it's one thing to be aware of it. It's one thing to maybe even be surprised by it and recognize it. It's a whole other thing to embrace that if I'm going to get better, I've got to get out of my comfort zone. I think that goes for anything that we do, whether it's in music or not, So that's cool. And Tiger, you might have been the youngest one. How old are you? 15. So you were the second. There's Malachi's 13. So you're the second to youngest one. What did you think?
It was an absolutely amazing experience, and I've improved in ways I didn't think were possible in such a short amount of time.
I was just gonna say, isn't it amazing that within the course of a week, how much you can learn that'll change your playing? And think about this, you probably have, a pretty smart guy, but most of that was what's up here, not in, oh, hold the stick this way and set your drums up like this, or listen to this music, that's part of it. But most of it, I think, is up here. Would you agree?
Yes.
So that has to do with the approach of the instrument and music?
Yes. Not just specific people, but everybody in the camp, the retreat in general, they learn to approach their instrument, which some of the coaches called their voice, with music being a language. They approach it in more of a musical way, where they need to serve the music and make sounds that work with the music, not just focus on their voice and just working around their voice. They have to work with the music.
Right. And what's also interesting is that Tiger is sort of two-timing and double dipping on us because he's also a bass player, right? You're taking bass lessons. Does it give you a different perspective?
Yes, certainly.
That's great. So now let's talk to James, Tiger's father. What was it like? Give me two perspectives, if you would. One, coming as an observer of the whole thing. And by the way, do you play an instrument?
I do. I play trumpet and guitar to a lesser extent.
Okay, cool. So I'd like your perspective as an observer, as a musician, but also as the father of one of their participants, because I'm sure you have a specific take based on just that position, right?
I do. It was a little nerve-wracking seeing the level of talent here, and throwing your son into a situation like this. But he spent several years working on things that you'd find at a drum camp. The hands, feet, rudiments, beats, what have you. But I think the most important thing to recognize about this retreat is it is a music retreat. You have to apply everything you know to a musical setting with other people, and it's just been phenomenal to watch. It's been great fun watching the jams take place at night, and it's been great fun watching him grow as a musician. And I think that is definitely in large part to how supportive and welcoming and warm the staff has been. I mean, they've been amazing. In musicians of a caliber, you'd think that maybe some ego would be present. I didn't get any of that impression from anybody here.
So you haven't spent any time talking to Mike, our cameraman?
But no, it's been wonderful from every aspect as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks. And that last area that you touched on is really important to us, because we realize that there's some pretty big artists here that are working as the coaches, and it's real easy to, number one, be intimidated to be in their presence, be intimidated to play for them, be intimidated to play with them, and then you're going to get critiqued. And that could be kind of daunting. So we wanted this to be a nurturing experience and not a getting hit over the head and this is what's wrong and maybe you should just take up welding experience. So hopefully you all got that, and so did your fellow attendees. But Mark, what have you gotten out of it the most? You play drums, and for how long?
Well,
And if you could speak up just a little, please.
I quit for 25 years.
Okay,
So
you
I
took a break.
I took a break.
Yeah.
I played, started playing in third grade, and I played till I was 21. So then I didn't play for 25 years, and then 6 years ago I started playing again.
What gave you the itch to start again?
I had an opportunity to sit in on a big band rehearsal. Well, a friend of mine was in, they needed a substitute drummer.
Wow.
And he knew that I had played a long time ago, and he said, we just need someone to keep time in a rehearsal to keep the band together.
That's nice and brave. I like
Right.
it.
So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. I hadn't read music in 25 years, or even played with a band. And I had a drum set at home I would toy around on, but not really practice like I used to growing up or anything like that. So I sat through it and got through it. And a few months later, I had the same thing, they called me back, and one thing led to another. I started getting calls more regularly, and kind of reignited my passion to get back into the music thing and play drums again. And then they were asking me to sit in full-time potentially, or share some time with the drummer. Then that turned into full-time, and I said, if I'm going to be doing this, I want to get my chops back. So I started taking lessons again, and one thing led to another, and I'm 100% in now, 110%.
Oh, that's great. What made you come to this retreat, and what have you gotten out of it the most?
I studied with Dom Famularo, so he recommended that I look into coming here.
Great.
And so on his recommendation I did, and Billy being here was another big draw.
Sure.
And just
That's a plus.
See what the experience would be. That's right.
Great. John Paul, how long have you been playing drums?
A long time, so like more than 50 years.
Wow, really?
Long ago. There've been gaps, but yeah, I started in junior high.
Wow. And had you been to drum camps or clinics and things like that?
I went to a hand percussion thing at the Omega Institute with Arthur Hull many years ago, but it was hand percussion, and no, not a drum set drumming any.
So what made you say, I'm going to spend this money and I'm going to travel all the way to Mesa, Arizona and spend a week there? What crazy person does that?
I've been aware of Billy forever, and I saw there was a Facebook ad, and I saw Billy Cobham and workshop, and there were other words, but they didn't really register, and I'm in, and signed up, and then I read the rest as a rhythm section about the band playing together, and that hooked it. Well, I had already sent my money, and I was going anyway, and this is icing on the cake to be able to do that, and puts a context around drumming that you don't get anywhere else.
That's awesome. And where did you grow the most so far? I know none of you have gotten home yet. You've applied some of it here, but I know when you go home is when this is really going to start to soak in and marinate, and you'll really start, putting it into action. But so far, where do you think you've grown?
Probably in the recommendation to try not to count necessarily, like measures and here's the A and B, but listen to the phrasing, listen more musically, listen from a higher altitude level to observe it that way. I thought I played well with others, but this knocks it up 10 or 15 levels of things to observe and pay attention to and things to respond to when you're playing.
That's great. Are you all eager to get home and play your instrument and with other people if you play with other people? I am. What's that?
I have rehearsal tomorrow night, so I'm going to test it out when I get back home.
Oh, that's great. And you were going to say something? I am too. I can't wait to get home, and I'm going to re-immerse myself into jazz, which was a strong theme here. I've played jazz, I've studied jazz, but not for a long time. I'll play some big band once in a while. I can't wait to get home and just sort of redesign my whole thinking. The same thing happened last year, being a fly on the wall and covering the event, helping to run it. I get to see and hear just about everything, and I'm just as inspired as you guys. I took part in it too, just in a little bit of a different way. Got to sit in at the jams at night from time to time, which was always fun. So I really appreciate you guys taking time to sit with me and show a little bit of your underside and what mattered to you the most about your experience right here on Drum Talk TV at the Art of the Rhythm section, Billy Cobham Retreat. Thank you for joining us, and now you know why people come from all over the world to go to this. Hope to see you at the next one, folks.
So there you go, Billy Cobham's Art of the Rhythm section retreat, class of 2017. concert by Billy Cobham and the Spectrum 40 Band following the last day of the retreat. This gave the attendees an opportunity to see the pros exercise everything they were taught and take it all in from a new perspective.
How's this experience been for you?
It's been fantastic, I have to say. You know, music was such a deep part of my life for so many years. When I found out about the retreat, I said, I have to do this. It's going to change my life, and it has.
I had a few breakthroughs, you know, learned what I know what I need to work on and what I'm good at.
I learned a lot, and I think the overall experience was just absolutely fantastic. It wasn't what I expected, but it was better than what I expected.
Creative inspiration, bigger picture about playing in a rhythm section. Even as much as I've jammed with folks and played with folks, there's a much bigger picture to be aware of, and I've just a peek into that now that I didn't have before at all.
What's your take briefly on the experience and what have you gotten out of it?
It's been absolutely incredible thus far. You get a chance to spend time with some serious legends, masterful educators who all have wonderful information.
Like what Dom said, you know, taking yourself out of your situation and looking and listening as the band and being like, okay, what can this be? And you're just a part of it, and you can do something to change to make it sound better, you know, removing yourself and listening to the whole picture.
What's your take on what you got out this year compared to last year, and what made you come back?
What made me come back was actually that it was such a great experience last time. I mean, it completely changed me, because when I was going back, I called my guys and was like, yeah guys, we have to make a record now. I'm so on fire.
Last year was just all about learning. It was great. I was glad I was here. And this year I came back because you can never learn too much.